Hello, today folks we're going to be discussing the Battle of Batu. I don't really do many of these, I don't actually do any really Star Wars videos or Star Wars breakdowns, but today we're going to be talking about the Battle of Batu from the Star Wars Galaxy Edge line. Right, so without further ado, let's get into it. During the days of the First Order, not very long before the Battle of, actually this is the battle that takes place right before the Battle of Exegol. Not too crazy long after the Battle of Crate, the Resistance would set up a base on the planet of Batu, which was their main base when they had about 8 people, but they moved to a new base. A bunch of recruits would come in to basically, be recruits. When they would have information, well, Finn would go up to Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer, which at this point, the First Order didn't have too many starships left, and his fleet after the Hold maneuver, so they only had about 32 or so. And at this time, Finn would sneak upon Kylo Ren's main flagship, where he would have information that Kylo Ren knows where they are, and heading to that to basically blow it up. Rey would have this information and tell the recruits to escape, and Lieutenant Beck and Nindam would take them on a transport out of there, and they would be guarded by Poe Dameron and another X-Wing and another A-Wing would escort the troops out of there. As the troops left to board the CR-94, I think it is. CR-94, right? Can it be 8 CR-94? As you can see, Poe Dameron's X-Wing get ready to escape as the troops board this ship, which I personally think is actually a really cool looking ship. As the troops board the ship, they would get ready for takeoff. As they escape, though, they would be attacked by a bunch of First Order TIE fighters once they made it into atmosphere. Kylo Ren's ship has already arrived. During this skirmish, they were able to take down many TIE fighters, though Red Leader and Blue 5 would be taken out, leaving only Poe behind. As the other two ships got taken out, everyone died. During this, they were able to basically, Poe was able to lead the TIE fighters away, causing the ship to be able to get out of there, though they would be trapped in the tractor's beam and slowly pulled into the ship as Poe jumped to light speed and left them to go get help. Lieutenant Beck made sure the recruits, about 40 of them, that's important, would not tell Kylo Ren the location of the new base, because again, these are recruits, so who knows how trustworthy they are. As you can see, there are a lot of people here as the recruits were taken out. And a TIE fighter, which one of the recruits would think that would be a good idea to maybe steal a TIE fighter. You don't need help, because what else are you going to do? The recruits would go through the hallway and put into a prison cell, where Supreme Leader, that's not really Supreme Leader, he's more like second in command, General Hux, and Supreme Leader Kylo Ren would interrogate the prisoners before they would both go off to the bridge before coming back. Then the Resistance, who were on the ship, ended up blowing open the door. And about 16 of the recruits were able to make it onto the first transports, for those Resistance spies stayed behind. A BB-4 unit would also be on one of these transports. So each transport is carried by R5 units, and we're just gonna stick with these two transports. These are the main characters. Everyone else died. Just get that out of the way. They died. Not even sure how Finn lived. Anyway, they would head out, have a close call with some other transports, who were able to escape. Then had another close call with a proton droid that would also survive, though they would be encountered by stormtroopers who aren't robots and be shot at, letting the First Order know they were there. Once coming to the main hangar bay, as they were preparing a bunch of AT-AT walkers to jump down to the planet and blow up Batu and Black Spire Outpost, the two transports would be separated and accidentally head up the elevator as Finn was trying to help them get down. After almost getting their heads blown off, they were able to make it around. As for their transport, it ended up getting its R5 unit blown, like its head was blown off. So a BB-4 unit in that would able to remote control that unit. As the two units appeared, they would see Kylo Ren and um, Second Command General Hux as they're saying how basically the Resistance wouldn't show up in their entire bloody fleet. The Resistance showed up with their entire bloody fleet, which at the time they're still rebuilding their fleet. So after their entire bloody fleet showed up, it would be complete madness. Their fleet would actually not too crazy, but had a bunch of decent ships, including two MC-85s, about 5 or 6 Hammerhead corvettes, about a dozen bombers, 5 Nebulon Bs, 3 different of those old Clone War ships, a few CR-90s, of course, our boy the GR-75 transport ship. They had one of those somehow because it's still around for some reason, and about 8 squads of X-wings and A-wings as they reach complete fire and destruction onto the First Order. At this point, the First Order only had Calvin's main ship and 2 other Star Destroyers and a few other smaller Star Destroyers, but the first wave of backup would arrive, which would cause this battle was insane. Ships everywhere. Again, they're doing all this to save about 8 recruits and Admiral Beck. Nemnum he's killed during this battle, so who knows what's the Resistance aren't really ones to think. This is Kylo Ren's starship, the I think so. No, Vader's ship was the Devastator. I don't know what he calls it, and that's a normal First Order Star Destroyer. It's like twice the size of a normal Star Destroyer. I like how thin they are. And yeah, the battle outside raged on, and it was insane. Copyrighted music. Anyway, the recruits would try to escape Kylo Ren, who would find them and start coming after them. Then the doors were shut, and R5, cocky as ever, think they'd be okay, but no, Kylo Ren jumped into the elevator and started blasting it open, trying to get through. And then they would make it to the main gun floor. Outside, the battle raged on like crazy. As during this, a brave Nebulon B frigate and CR-90 were able to broadside the main ship and be completely blown up in the process. But the recruits were able to basically rewire the guns to basically blast at their own ship. Meanwhile, telling the Resistance for some reason to blast the ship they're on and blow it up, which would cause immense damage to their main ship. But then Kylo would catch them. At this point, 2 smaller Star Destroyers would be destroyed, and the third. So there's like the main big ship and 2 other bigger Star Destroyers. One of them would be disabled after a bombing run, led by Poe Dameron. And judging from that one scene from that one movie, they decided to reenact that one scene by crashing a Hammerhead Corvette into the side of this destroyer, pushing it to the side. At the same time, happening to hit it at Kylo Ren is right here, trying to, force choke these guys, as the ship would crash into the side of the big ship, throwing Kylo Ren into space. But don't worry, people don't die in space, at least not anymore. So Kylo Ren would be okay. Meanwhile, the battle outside raged on. The main Kylo Ren Star Destroyer is completely going down, as Poe would lead another bombing run over Kylo Ren's ship, dropping the bombs, blowing it up. So the entire bloody ship is going down, and the recruits are forced to evacuate as chaos happens outside. As the battle is on, several cars would escape, and several would be destroyed. As the secretary as the Resistance troops are clear, and this would be very high. But at this they just barely missed that bridge. As
Your escape pod's getting a little off target. Ground crews will meet you outside the wreck.
Bloody war's happening outside, mate. And this is the thing of my nightmares. Anyway, the About 8 recruits who survived. I mean, there was another pod that went flying into the distance. So who knows what happened to them? But out of the 8 recruits that survived, and Admiral Beck, this is known as a successful mission. Very good stuff. As Admiral Beck did survive this, and the recruits would be again trapped on the island of the place until a second CR-90 Corvette, led by Poe Dameron's rest of his squadron, would come down and pick up the recruits again as he would fly into orbit. Now, as Kylo Ren's flagship is completely blown up, which at this point, this deeply weakened the First Order, which would, in turn, get Mr. This guy over here, as he hated Kylo Ren. He loved Supreme Leader Snoke, but hated Kylo Ren. So now Kylo Ren's in charge, and Snoke is dead, and I mean this is the bullshit version. He's evil Hitler guy. He's evil, by the way, but spy. He's not evil, but spy. He's still evil. But basically, he does not like Kylo Ren, and because of this, even though this is totally Kylo Ren's fault, he was demoted down and he's treated like trash now. Demoted and treated like trash. So he hated that, and that's why he's a spy. Not because he wanted the Resistance to win. He didn't. That's because he wanted basically the Kylo Ren to lose, which did happen. And that's the reason he isn't. He's the spy. That's the reason why he's the spy. This battle would rage on as the Resistance would try to do a technique as basically surround the First Order, as they technically have more ships, which isn't really the smartest idea, as that would thin out your own group, which is why you see ships basically everywhere, as the brave Nebula B went in the middle and was completely obliterated during this skirmish. They would send out their own X-Wings and stuff as reinforcements. A few reinforcements would arrive. But also, First Order reinforcements would arrive. As you can see here, the First Order had a few ships that did arrive, as the Resistance made some technical standpoints by putting the Nebula Bs in front of the more important capital ships, basically using them as solder fire. Basically, they're using their own ships to get in the way, as giving the recruits time to get off of Batu and hit hyperspace. The moment the recruits, which after some tense battle, the moment the recruits were able to jump into hyperspace, the battle was won. Again, they destroyed several First Order ships, destroyed their main cruiser thing, Kylo Ren's main ship, which is why Kylo Ren ended up going to find the new fleet, because his main fleet has been weakened. The recruits, most of them, have been saved. Admiral Beck has been saved. So overall, it's a victory. So basically, time to go. As the main ships prepare to jump into hyperspace, the final, the entire rest of the First Order would arrive, showing up in groups and immediately firing upon the Resistance fleet, which would incredibly weaken them. The Resistance didn't care and started jumping their main ships into hyperspace, though one Nebula B was caught in the crossfire and completely obliterated. As the rest of the Nebula Bs that survived, at this point only 2 Hammerhead Corvettes, about a dozen Nebula Bs, a few bombers, and the main 2 capital ships would less than a dozen Nebula Bs. Oh, about 5 Nebula Bs were left, and there goes Hammerhead Corvette. As a Hammerhead Corvette and Nebula B that were distracted during the Great Escape would bravely stay behind and be destroyed, basically blown up, to defend the First Order as they tend to get the rest of their ships out of there. Unfortunately, another Nebula B would be lost out of the 4 left to escape. So the 2 capital ships, the other Hammerhead, and a few Nebula bombers would escape along with all the fighters. Though there were a group of 4 Nebula Bs that would try to escape, the one would be tragically blown up right before hitting hyperspace. Though all the ships survived, so it's fine, I suppose. And that's basically the Battle of Batu, folks. This man page, people. That is the Battle of Batu explained. Did I do a bad job explaining it? Probably. Did you enjoy this video? Probably not. Maybe you did. Leave a like below if you did, or subscribe. That could help out the channel. I know everyone says that. Everyone says that. But again, I'm the first one to do this. You don't see our Lord and Savior, the greatest Star Wars YouTuber of all time. Eggcart's Ladder doing this. You don't see him doing it. No. No, you don't. Debatable Red 5 is better, but yeah, you don't see Eggcart Ladder doing this one. So yes, I am the first one to cover this battle. So again, if you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, leave a bunch of angry comments. Catch you on the next one, folks. Cheerio!